Okay, so the next set of questions folks had was about a pretty big topic, reparations, specifically reparations for Black Americans. At the state and local level, they have to deal with balanced budget requirements in a way that the federal government very clearly does not have to deal with. They can spend at a level that is not really comparable to a state or a city. And because of that, states and localities, when they are implementing these reparations plans, they have to be a lot more cognizant of the tax burden that might be brought about as a result of this. But I mean, you see states managing this problem fairly well. I think Maryland is a great example. Carve-outs have been made to specifically use funds from the taxation of marijuana to be used towards reparative purposes, like particularly in the city of Baltimore. And then there are also like broader plans in Maryland to be used for, community development and economic development. And so again, like even in the context of a state and locality, there are still ways to create a fund directed towards reparative causes. More on the question of like whether financial reparations will be a good idea. Like, oh, is that going to be bad for inflation? Well, I mean, again, Sandy Darity and Kirsten Mullen are two of the preeminent scholars in this field, and they've kind of taken on this question as well. Just thinking about like, is it going to be inflationary for us to essentially transfer this large sum of money on behalf of its citizens to this part of the population who's harmed by this? And there are a lot of ways that you can mitigate what the inflationary impact of that plan is going to be. Like one great example is spreading those payments out over a course of a certain number of years, say like 10 years. And that would allow the impact on inflation in a particular year to not be quite as strong. But again, like we're talking about essentially a huge economic stimulus as well. So you're taking a huge amount of federal spending and directing it towards the population that consumes quite a bit. So it's going to be stimulating for the economy in a lot of ways. But ultimately, I think the point is, when people ask this question, like, oh, what's the impact going to be on inflation? A lot of folks are like leading towards a sort of like, oh, well, we just can't do this because think of what the consequences would be. I think the important thing to consider is that yes, folks are thinking very deeply about these issues and there are solutions to mitigate those problems. And also we should remain directed towards recognizing that this is still a harm that needs to be addressed. These harms are worthy of compensation. Folks deserve this, and it's just become a technical question, and those technical questions are being answered as we speak.